So we left off, we talked about the relationship between real GDP and unemployment, that they're inverse. And actually, I don't want to show you this one. I want to show you something else. Hold on a second. So this is one of the charts in your packet, and so it kind of shows you a couple of things. It shows you real GDP and unemployment rate. So if you look at this section right here, notice what's happening to real GDP. In the second yellow bar, it's going down. So I would expect unemployment to be going upwards if real GDP is falling. So let's go over here. Second yellow bar, look. Big growth in unemployment. So they took these, tracked them over the years. I know you can't see it, but I think it's like, I don't know. I won't even speculate. I'm not sure about the years, but they track the unemployment rate and the real GDP rate over time. And if you also look, you can see the real GDP compared to your investment spending. So it's going down here. So I would expect the investment spending to go down too. So these work together. They go in the same direction, but the real GDP and the unemployment rate work in opposite directions. So that's all that this is to show you. Okay, and I think that's kind of helpful for students to see that. All right, so that's all it is to exemplify that last part of the last video. Now this are ways that our government can deal with problems of unemployment and ways to increase GDP or decrease GDP if things are growing too quickly. And they're called monetary and fiscal policy. We'll deal with these a lot. So this is really just the very beginning to get you introduced. Monetary policy, what's it look like here? Gosh dang it, ruined my whole mojo. Monetary looks like an awful lot like money policy, and that's exactly what it is. Setting of the money supply. This is controlled by the Federal Reserve Bank, oftentimes called the Fed. For those who are econ gurus to the max, you'll know that the Fed chairman is actually the Fed chairwoman. Her name is Janet Yellen. She actually was testifying before Congress today. And this is important, but we're going to talk about this separately because you actually get another graph when we start talking about the money supply. The one that we're going to focus on is fiscal policy. Fiscal policy has to do with the level of spending and taxing. And, there, because I circled it. Due to my dramatic reveal here, the government has two options with both things. They can increase taxes, they can decrease them. They can spend more, they can spend less. And they are two types of fiscal policy, expansionary and contractionary. If you think about it, expansionary sounds like things are getting bigger. So these things will make your AD grow. Contractionary, on the other hand, will make your AD shrink. And so if you look, increase in government purchases is a G out of C plus I plus G. So when it gets bigger, you would expect your AD to move to the right, to grow. Decrease in taxes changes consumption. And people consume more. So we'll put that in, equals more consumption. And the opposite is true down here. Increase your taxes, you get less consumption. Decrease in government purchases. And if you know these, man, you know fiscal policy. You are in great shape. And they are commonly shown on your AP test. And if you think about, hey, expansionary, when would you want your aggregate demand to grow? When do you need to boost your GDP? You might think like a recession, right? Sometime like the Great Depression. On the opposite side, you might think, well, why would we ever want GDP to go down? Well, this is actually the harder one to use, right? To convince people that things are too good. Maybe in the 1920s, we could have used a little contractionary fiscal policy and slowed things down. Think about it like an engine or a car that's going really, really fast. Like, it's really great to go really, really fast. You can get places super quick and super efficiently. But when you crash, it hurts. So sometimes the economy can overheat a little bit, and we would use contractionary fiscal policy to slow it down. Let me pause for a second. Okay, final thing before I move on. Monetary and fiscal policy are aggregate demand changers. These are not going to change your aggregate supply curve. What I'm about to do is I'm going to switch over. I'm going to start talking about aggregate supply curve. The aggregate supply curve slopes very similarly to your regular supply curve. But it is your aggregate supply curve, and we're going to talk about why it slopes the way it does in 1 second.